Welcome to the November 19th, 2019 regular meeting of the Harrison County Board of Education. At this point in time, I would like us all to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We have a few special presentations and recognitions this evening, and we would like to start out with a special proclamation from the superintendent for Esther and Neil Messenger, who I think deserve a great round of applause. Can you come forward, please?
Seldom can I ever reward or award or recognize anybody, particularly when they have their grandchildren, without them participating. And I saw them outside, and I might get one of them, right? I might get both of them. I need some help. Stand right here. In all of my years, I've had the opportunity to deal with a lot of different people who are very outstanding individuals who made an incredible impact on the community, but seldom have I had the opportunity to work with people that we have here today, such as Esther and Neil, who truly made a difference. And what greater gift can we give? And I'm talking to you young people, the gift of our hands, our heart, and our time to make our community better. I want you to learn. Tonight we do more than honor Esther and Neil. Tonight we recognize true dedication to making this a better community, a better state, and a better school system. So I want you to watch what we do here tonight and realize that we can make a difference. One person, two people can make a difference in a lot of people's lives. And tonight, we're going to show you. So without further ado, I have a proclamation. Whereas Esther and Neil Messenger have been coaching volleyball at Washington Irving Middle School for the past 21 years since 1998. They have successfully won 10 championships in that time. Whereas the two have organized and their teams have won 3 Hilltopper Classics and had several second place titles in these tournaments. Thousands of dollars have been raised in the past 5 years from these tournaments in support of breast cancer awareness. And whereas, let it be known that the countless hours of preparation and dedication to the volleyball program at Washington Irving Middle School has not gone unnoticed by the staff and over 400 young women and families and their players. Whereas Esther and Neil Messenger have left an everlasting impression on all whom they have touched in these past 21 years. Now, therefore we resolve that the Harrison County Board of Education hereby recognizes the achievement and contributions of Esther and Neil Messenger. And be it further resolved that the Harrison County Board of Education hereby proclaims November 19th, 2019 as Esther and Neil Messenger Day.
We also have a flag
Well, all right.
that we would like to present to the students.
Come here, Mr. President, here. Is that what you give us yours? Come here. Would you turn around and would you make a speech? No, wait a minute, no. Dude, here, listen. And I want you to get a picture. Angela,
Yes, Todd's on it.
I want you to turn around and I want you to give this to your grandmother and grandfather.
Have you been fired as a photographer?
I guess I had the camera.
I've worked quite extensively with Esther, much more than Neil. Every time I go up to the Washington Urban, I always get a very warm welcome from Esther. Jimmy, she says, what are you doing up here? She's a sweetheart. God bless her. Neil, God bless you for what you've done. And I am honored to have the opportunity to, over these last 6 years, to get to know both of you and work with you. Congratulations.
It's been great. Thank you.
You want to?
Thank you. I love the girls, I love the families. Yeah, it's all their fault.
And one of these young ladies has a mom sitting back there that was host basketball lessons.
Oh,
One
really?
of our first teams, yeah.
All right, Mom.
So you've been here a while.
Yes, you have. You know what I found, that if you're around long enough, you start, and when I first started teaching, my students and ball players are now grandparents, so I know what it's like having been around. My dad used to tell me, if you live long enough, you'll get old, and I think we're reaching that stage. So, Susan, will you come up here, Mrs. Farrell, and join me, and I'd like a picture, and then what, you want to say anything? You like Esther, don't you?
I will. Just that I've never met two more dedicated individuals to anybody, let alone our students, and how blessed we have been to have them at our school all this time. They impact everybody that they come in touch with, and it's just, we've been blessed. And we appreciate it very much.
Hey, Doug, can I say something? Can I say something?
It's been a good run. Thankful for each and every one, and all the blessings and the memories of, thankful for my family who has stuck by me. I have my son and daughter-in-law, son and daughter-in-law, and grandchildren.
Why don't you all stand up?
We even had Emily play volleyball for South Harrison. We never got to coach her, but we got to coach against her. Yeah, stand up, guys. Rusty, Danny, Christina, and Lynn Tyler, our new grandson-in-law, so.
All right.
They've been a blessing to us.
Hey, Esther, I can't let you leave. There's one other person who wants to say, who's just chomping at the bit to say something nice about you.
Oh, I know. We know.
If you'll turn around, I'm going to recognize Mr. Doug Hope, member of the Harrison County Board of Education.
I just want to add to what has been, said here tonight. I've had the privilege of working with Esther and Neil for probably 40 years. She was at Roosevelt Wilson, and then either I followed her or she followed me to Washington Irving, and then I left and I came back, and she was still there. And when I came back to Washington Irving as a principal, I told our teams and our coaches that we was only going to play for championships. And they laughed and all, but all of a sudden we started hanging banners for every championship that we won. If you go into the gym, there's a lot of banners hanging on the wall. It continued after I left, but a lot of them are volleyball. And, everybody as teachers and as parents and everything, you hope to impact children's lives, and you don't impact every child's life, but you try. Well, Esther and Neil probably have impacted more children's lives than probably all the teachers that they've had. They have gone above, beyond, and it was amazing to see the kids come back after they had left. They couldn't wait to come back and see Esther and Neil. They've gone on to be successful. And I believe a lot of the success that these students have and will have in the future is going to be owed to them, to Esther and Neil. And I said every coach, and I coached for 25 years, and I was very fortunate in teams that I had. But it wasn't so much, winning the championships, but it was seeing these kids go on to become doctors, lawyers, business people, out into the job market, teachers. I mean, they have done so many different things with their lives, and somebody has to show them the way and help to guide them. Not only their parents, a lot of times it's people like Esther and Neil, the coaches, that have a greater impact, and they'll listen to them sometimes better than they will listen to their own parents. And I believe that says volumes as to these two. And I said that if I, had a Mount Rushmore of people that, that I was going to put on, there's 4 people, and they were all end up being coaches. One was Paul Snyder, who coached at RW and WI Middle and won championship after championship, in spite of who his assistant coach was. He was a guy that was very quiet, but he always got the point across. He coached in a different manner than coaches you see today. A lot of coaches rant, rave, run up and down the sidelines and stuff, but not Paul. Second was Gene Randolph. Gene Randolph was a guy that poured his whole heart and soul into the kids that he coached. And he always wanted them to be successful, always waited, anything they needed, they knew that they could go to Coach Randolph. And now Mount Rushmore has been completed tonight, when we now will put Esther and Neil Messenger on the Mount Rushmore of coaches. Thank you.
Esther and Neil, we have a cake back there. Okay, come on.
Our girls.
Yeah, that's next.
Come on, girl.
Yeah, I thought they wanted to.
Well, we're going to recognize them right after the break. We already, we're going to make a big deal out of it. Oh, don't think we're going to miss
Same
them.
thing. Do it, and then we'll do it.
Okay.
And then we'll do the cake.
All right. Pardon me?
Esther, you get the first piece of cake. She's always first in line when it comes to food.
All right, Madam Coach, and
You want me to read the names for you, Doc?
well, yes.
And then you can hand out.
Then we're going to hand this,
All right, first we have Hope Vernon. Oh, Neil and Esther's are on top. Yeah, then we have Hope Vernon.
I'm going to read the first one, then we're going to hand it out to everybody. We'll know it. But the first one, and for all of you, we keep the minutes of every board meeting for literally 100 years. We can go back to whatever. And you can always look back and tell your grandchildren someday that you were the county champs, and it will be in the minutes of the Harrison County Board of Education from November 19th, 2019. If they believe you, that you actually played volleyball and you actually won. Because as you grow older, they will not believe you could have done anything. You can show them. Certificate of Achievement. The Harrison County Board of Education honors Hope Vernon and every one of the girls that we handed to tonight. We have this also. Of Washington Irving Middle School volleyball team for winning the Harrison County Volleyball Championship. It is presented this 19th day of November 2019 by the Harrison County Board of Education and its superintendent. So it's a great deal of pleasure. Hope that we recognize you right off the bat for your outstanding service. You're kind of tall. What were you doing? What were you doing? What do they do? I'm not thinking about ball. Oh, hitter. That sounds pretty mean. Congratulations.
Elena Atlanta Shahan? No?
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
She's not here.
Okay. Serena Squires?
She's not here.
Okay. Taylor Champagne?
Taylor's here.
I like that name. Congratulations. Danny. What was your position? Hitter. I thought everybody, did everybody hit the ball? Oh, okay, well, the top ones I did.
Jayla Coben?
Congratulations.
Abby Dotson?
Congratulations, Andy. Now, you're shorter, what were you? It doesn't make any difference how tall you are? All right, girls, come on, listen.
She came a long way during the season. She played mostly JV, but she improved tremendously.
Coach Messenger thinks you're pretty solid now.
Yes. I hope she goes on and plays.
She will. Congratulations.
Sophia Wagner?
Congratulations, Sophia. There you go.
She was our center, not one of these.
You were what? Right in the middle? And you go over the net? You want to
Ryan Holcraft?
Wow, Ryan, you're tall. What was your position? Oh, you're. Congratulations.
Jaden Finley?
Hi, James. Congratulations. And your position?
Center, hitter.
How many positions are there?
She was wherever we went.
I like it. Congratulations.
Haley Wright?
Hey, Haley, you're a tall girl. What is it? What's that? That's a position? A librero? Well, of course she looks like a Congratulations.
Cameron Ware?
Come on, Cameron. Congratulations. And your position was? How many centers are on the team?
We only have, we usually only play with 2 centers.
Now, what skills do you have that makes you such a good center? That yes, you what? Oh, I like it. Let me see your hand. Woo! All right. Good job.
Gracie Smith?
Gracie. Gracie, how you doing? Your position was? Center. We got enough centers, I'd say, huh? Congratulations.
Charlie Chevron?
Congratulations. Charlie, is that correct? Oh, Charlie, okay. Dimples. Congratulations.
Ava Fazzini?
Hi, Ava. What's the
David's just our gateway.
Is she really? Well, come here, Ava. Congratulations. That's for you.
Gina Alvaro?
Hi, Gina. Congratulations on being a winner. All right.
And Gianna Fidio?
Yeah. Congratulations, John. What's your position? Wherever they told you to be, right? All right. How many? Oh, okay. All right. And we also have one, and we've already honored, but the same type, Esther and Neil. So to both of you, congratulations. You keep this. Come here, Al. I'll just give you West attention. Go all right? You have to, let me take a picture. get it, how come I personally give it to you? All right, so, Coach is, congratulations on another season, and y'all plan on winning it next year? Who's coming back next year to play? All right. Who's the best of you ones here? Well, good luck. I'm gonna have to come up. I gotta start watching volleyball. I want to see how coaches, messengers actually do. Give me your best imitation of Coach. Either one. All right, everybody. We have, now this will be on our website tomorrow. Are we good now, Mr. President?
Yes.
We're good. We're good? We're going to now have a nice reception. I want y'all to take the time and recognize these two outstanding individuals. And we'll have a cake back there, and we'll cut the cake. We'll have a big time. We'll take a few minutes here, and then we'll get back to the business of the Harrison County Board of Education. So thank you all for being here. Those who are here to recognize these young ladies and our coaches and doing an outstanding job. We appreciate your support. We appreciate all you do for Harrison County and Washington Urban. So without further ado, let's take a break. We'll take about a 10-minute break.
Meeting. Next item on our agenda is Matt D'Amato, funding requests for press box and weight room facility.
Evening, everyone.
Evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. President. We weren't.
What's that?
I don't.
It's Neil and Esther Messenger night, Doc. You pay attention. I'm an old WI guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
There you go.
All right. This is yellow, though.
Is that yellow?
I've watched it too many
That's the news
times.
principal was. At the W.
I know you normally see me in red,
Mr. Hogue has a question.
but you'll forgive me. Well, he knows. He was there when I was there. What's up?
That's right.
I was just trying to figure out the yellow. It doesn't resemble anything that anybody else is wearing tonight.
I'm still trying to figure. Is that teal? What is that? You got dripping down the chin there. Folks, thanks for letting me speak to you tonight. We got a lot of good things going for us at Bridgeport, and we're grateful for all those things. We do have a few things I like to refer to as lemons, and when given lemons, you hope to make lemonade, and that's what I'm coming to you to seek some help with. What I mean by that is our situation is we are on a floodplain. It's hard to expand. We're looking at projects that need done. One is our press box, but as noted on the monitor, we are also looking at a needed expansion of our weight room, our facility. It's very difficult when you are on a floodplain. I've looked at multiple possibilities and options, and I will get to them as we proceed. Initially, this was a press box idea, but in looking at the bigger picture, I think we can do more, and I think that what we can do is something that's very, very needed. Let's talk about the press box first. It's over 40 years old. The facility building is over 40 years old. The press box itself, the roof is rotted. It's very spongy when you walk on it. I hesitate to say it worries me because there's going to be people on top of it this Saturday. Some of those people are quite large. A lot of coaches go up there. No offense to any coaches. It's a concern. But the windows are also a concern during strong winds. Just over time with expansion and contraction, windows will blow in. There's areas where you can literally see through the wall to the outside. It's so porous in the soffit areas of the fascia that when the wind blows, tiles will come out of the ceiling. Ceiling tiles are light tiles. It's something that we do need to look at replacing. The other side of that is it's something that gets quite a bit of use. I would venture to say it's probably the most used athletic facility in the county. We're fortunate for that. The use would sometimes involve 3 radio crews. We have a home, we'd have a guest. Metro News will do live streaming and televising from time to time up there. We make do with what we have, but quite often we're jammed up there. We're looking at expanding it. So I'm going to give you a picture of what we're looking at doing. what we hope to do.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. Keep going. If there's not enough there, please share. So if you're looking at the first picture, just an artist's rendition, I guess, you're looking at 2 levels where we currently have 1. What we do with our second level right now is there's a ladder that, it's a very small ladder to a very small opening. It's probably not the safest situation. The door's very heavy. At times the wind will blow it back. We've had people get their hands caught in it, get their heads knocked in the head with it. We want to avoid having to go up on top of a roof. We'd like to make that a second level, a level where visiting radio and home radio with visiting coaches and home coaches. And then in the middle, where there is a garage door, we envision cameras for each team to film during games, whether it's football or soccer or whatever's going on. The lower levels would be, and if you turn the page, you'll see another picture. And if you continue, you're going to see a diagram. And if you look at the first level, we have 3 rooms to the right. We would be looking at a PA room, public address, clock. We also would be looking at a room for statisticians and one for live streaming. Our hope is eventually to incorporate that into the curriculum. We'd like to get students involved with that. There is a VIP area. It's something we'd like to do because we think we can get a flow of revenue there. We did that with our red seats, and since we installed the red seats, I don't know if you're familiar with what I'm saying, but if you go to the stadium, you'll see 130 red seats. We've averaged between $10,000 and $11,000 a year in additional revenue that we throw into our field turf fund. They are on the picture. Barely, yes, but they are. Thank you for that. There's more. There's 130 of them. So we're hoping if we go this route with a VIP seating area, we envision maybe this being a way to, and we're going to seek support. We're going to seek sponsors. Maybe this is a way to reward a sponsor in addition to the sign that's on the press box that markets their company. We may go that route. We may look at doing something on an annual basis. That's something I think we can be flexible with. But we feel we can generate some money there, and that's why that is included. Is it a bit of a luxury? Absolutely, it is. But I think like the red seats, we can make it something that can bring in some dollar bills. And on the top is what I described earlier. You've got where it's VR, it's those visitors, radio, VC, visitors coaches, HC, home coaches, and then home radio. So that's what we are hoping to do. I do have numbers.
Now, Matt, that's it? What about the weight room? Where's the weight
We'll
room?
talk.
Underneath of it?
We'll get to that here when we finish this.
Oh.
We'll talk about
They're
that.
separate
Okay.
buildings?
No, well, possibly yes, possibly no. I'm looking at different options.
Okay.
I'll clarify. I'll get us there.
Can we get there tonight?
Yeah, I think we did. So the bottom line on this, if you turn to the last page, is we're looking at approximately almost $210,000. And the details of what that involves are all listed. And you can look at those at your leisure.
Who's going to build this?
Well, it would have to be bid out. We would look, right now, if you look.
City windows?
Yep, you'd see the city's been involved and Thrasher's been involved at this point, yes. Right. Now, to answer your question with regard to weight room. I've been looking and trying to find a way to do this as financially efficient as possible. We have a large area on our second floor that in part has been used for wrestling, but it's probably more than we need up there. We have some rooms up there that we could reconfigure. But to put a weight room up there is a bit of a challenge. Your first concern has to be, will the floor support it? And will it support it when you're doing a clean? And when if you're up here, you're up, you're down, and then you drop. That's going to put obviously a lot of force on the floor.
Second floor where?
At the facility, look here. Okay, look at the second.
So you're saying
Look at the
it's
second
up here?
picture. You can see the press box here, and then there's a roof back here.
Yeah,
That roof covers the second floor, and on the first floor are locker rooms, coach's office.
oh, okay.
Okay, that's the second floor, and there's also a small weight room down there right now. Okay, on the very
That's
first floor.
already existing.
That already exists,
Okay.
first floor.
Okay.
So, knowing that we're on a floodplain, we were thinking maybe a pole building on this side of the press box. That gets us closer to the creek. That's somewhat problematic, I think. So looking at the second floor, and I had some engineers from CEC go in and got the numbers back today, and they estimate to properly reinforce roughly $268,000, which to my mind is a lot. And maybe we can do something more financially, I don't know if savvy is the word, but less expensive definitely is. The pole building would be $220, but it puts us closer to the creek. And really, to do that, we've got to go up substantially. Our current weight room is on the side of the building that is closer to Johnson Elementary School. Knocking out that wall and extending it another 20 feet would be roughly $150,000. It would double the size. We would go up to, we go from roughly a 1,200 square foot room to a 2,400 square foot room. We currently are putting 20 athletes in there at a time. The spacing is adequate for that right now. We have on the football team alone, this Saturday 70 will dress. Our cross-country team uses it. Our track team uses it. Our volleyball team even goes in and uses this weight room. There's definitely a need for it. If we double the room, it'll be filled. I think that this is a way we can get there, get what we need, and although I would really, really love to use the second level, and if we were to go up there, you'd see why. There's a lot of space. I have a hard time justifying that extra money to get us there.
What's on the second floor right now?
Second floor right now is, there's a couple storage rooms. One youth football uses, we could put them in another area. Another is used by our track team, but a lot of that stuff, after going in there, is stuff that is obsolete. I think we can find a place for the rest of it. There is a small, like what is a sort of a banquet room now. It used to be a film room. These things, the walls could be knocked out, it could be reconfigured. The rest of the open area, there's a couple of wrestling mats that are down in there. We would still want to utilize space for wrestling, but there would be plenty of room for that, as well as a weight room of probably 3,000 square feet.
Matt, my question is, you talk about dropping the weights and everything.
Yeah.
Could you not put the weight room downstairs and put your dressing rooms upstairs?
We've looked at that and we have thought about that, but there's no restroom on the second floor. There are no shower facilities on the second floor. If you go down to our main locker room right now, it sits lower than the current weight room. When the current weight room was built, it was built knowing that that building floods. And folks, it will flood again. They built it up higher. Since they've done that, it's only flooded one time, and one is too many, but those are the lemons we're dealing with. When I'm saying we've got lemons, we've got issues over there, and I don't know how to change them without going up 7 feet with a whole entire new building. So I'm thinking this is a possibility. It's less expensive. It is a concrete floor. If it does flood, and again, it has flooded one time, in the last, I'd say, 20 years since that weight room has been there. So it probably will again, but we got through it. It's block wall, it's concrete floor. It was cleaned, we're using it. I think that we can expand that out, double the size. We'll have to deal with the flood every now and then probably. But Doug, I don't know where else to go unless we can find a couple $1 million and build a new facility building. And I think that's going to be a tough number to find. So
So the total that you're asking for today, or just, we're just looking at, for the press box and for the new build, is that 200,000?
the press box is roughly 208. We are envisioning the extension, the addition at 125 a square foot to be 150. I feel confident we can get a lot of things donated, and we will work very hard to do that. For example, block, I think that we can. That doesn't include new weightlifting equipment, which would be roughly $47,000. All told, if we go with the least expensive option here, we're just under $400,000.
You have been raising money for this already?
I've been putting some aside. We have some revenue coming in through advertising. I can, with what we've done, I expect to help with this as well, but we are also going to have to fundraise. And I think we can get there. We may have to fundraise $100,000, but I think we can. And that would include some advertising.
So you already have roughly 100,000?
I think I can get us there, yes, with what we have, with what I have in the books.
One or two?
One. I think I can raise one. I'm hoping you all would see clear to half of the cost. If the cost is 400, I'm hoping you'd see clear to 2. And I think I can get us one, and then I think we can fundraise the rest. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so you're trying to get 2, not 1?
I'm asking for 2. I'm asking for half of what this total project would be. Yes, ma'am.
Is this something that would have to be looked at in the next budget?
We could try to set it aside now, or we could say that we're gonna set it aside when we do the next budget. I'm sure when he starts the project, it's not gonna be like.
It's going, I mean, you're not going to be able to start the project probably till spring, right?
At the earliest, I would think spring. And, and that's what I would like to do. I would like to start it in the spring. And as far as the press box goes, we have to fit that within some dates. We like to use our field for graduation, so we would like it finished by then, or we'd like for it to begin immediately following graduation, which is May 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that if we can ask Dr. Manchin to work with you and Mrs. Haddix to find something, we did the same thing for Lincoln with their press box.
Sure.
Their weight room facility. We helped them out, so I would recommend that we come up with something and see if we can help out Bridgeport as well.
How much was Liberty's weight room?
That was free.
Liberty?
Jim Bell.
150,000.
Oh, no, Lincoln.
They built it. They built it for
Lincoln or?
No, Liberty.
Liberty, no,
Oh,
Liberty's
no.
150. They built it for 150,000.
Liberty's weight room?
But it never could do it again. Won't be closed.
Okay.
Both did.
In our situation's different. If we were not in a floodplain, if we had the space, we would want to go in that direction. Folks, I'm talking with someone at the city. They approved us to build that addition. They're going to still have to approve us to do this in the floodplain. Okay? We were able to do it with a new restroom that we got after Johnson Elementary. And that was just within the last year and a half. So it'll be an extension of a current building, but we'll need their approval, and I'm hopeful to get that. Now, if we don't get their approval, we're pretty much, we're out of room unless you want to go to the playground behind the new parking lot, which is out of the floodplain, but that is not most ideal.
What's the other building there?
Okay, what other building?
Yeah, there's the big one beside it, and then there's a little one.
Visitors building?
What is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to.
Okay, this Here, this is the main, this is an old picture.
Right.
This is the field house that I'm speaking of. This area right here is the current weight room.
Okay.
Okay? Talking about extending it out here, okay? Leaving at least 25 feet here because a crane will have to eventually come in here and address lights on this light pole. Okay? This is the old field house. The middle school uses that, and our track team uses that, as well as our soccer currently. Okay? The new restroom is right here. It's built right adjacent to this, right here.
Where do your visiting teams go?
We put our visiting teams for football back here into the middle school locker room. They've got more space there. And it also, they avoid coming through out of the tunnel in the middle of this. We just bring them out that way.
And that's your field box for baseball, right?
This is a batting cage.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, there's a concession stand and press box behind home plate back here. And concession stand and some storage for various things, trap, some other things.
Is this, still, all this is still floodplain?
It is.
So what was you saying was built up higher than?
Well, what I was saying is if we were looking at this area here, if we were to go with maybe like a pole building, I think I'm using the right term, we would have to build it up substantially higher. We would. It's not, somebody maybe with more experience, this is not a floodplain here, it's a floodway or a,
Floodway.
is that correct?
Floodway.
Which is lower than a floodplain,
Floodway's worse.
correct. So to do
Floodway is
it,
where the water actually flows.
Yeah.
Floodplain is that the water can rise. and
Right.
come out.
thank you, sir, that makes sense to me now. But this is the floodplain here, okay? So it changes right here, right in that area.
You don't
And
want
Johnson,
to build a floodway, absolutely.
right, okay,
But floodplain, raise it up, we can work it out.
okay.
Like we said, we'll sit down and see.
I mean,
Okay.
If you're using this building, would it, to extend this one out here, would that be?
Well, it'd be difficult to extend this out because the entry right here is probably just about 10 feet from the back of these bleachers, and people need to walk back through here.
Okay, I didn't know what else was utilized there.
Yeah, it's hard to see with the picture, but that's basically what it is.
Okay, just trying.
Yeah, come out and, if you want me to walk around with you, you can come out and look at it, and we'll talk.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to help out as much as we can, if there's possibility. So if we could do it
Appreciate
this year, so they can get underway in the spring, if that's a possibility.
You know, probably, it would, obviously, whatever the board wants to do, but we can make a commitment. Probably the appropriate thing to do would put it in next year's budget. But you can start this spring with your money, and the money will be available July 1, or we can.
Okay.
So
we could start possibly with
Well, whatever
both
the board wants to do.
projects.
Pardon
Okay.
me?
Now, wait a second, now, are we not doing this the way we do all the other schools? We match your funds, basically. If he, okay, so it's just not being put in the budget, but it's matching funds, because it's correct?
Well, it wouldn't be the same as a contingency fund,
No.
because we have a limit
No,
on
I'm
that.
talking about like,
Well,
when
that could
Liberty
change.
came, or Lincoln came, I mean,
Well, that's what
I
I'm-
just
right,
said,
when-
you know,
when they
man, I
came,
just
yeah.
don't want someone coming in saying, we treat one school different
Yeah,
than
we
the
didn't-
other.
We don't want to be treated any different than anyone, and vice
So
versa.
I just want to make that clear, especially
Yeah.
since there's press here, that
Sure.
this isn't a budget item,
It can be a budget item, if we place it in the
For
budget
the
for
whole
next year.
thing.
No, I don't think, he's not asking for
No,
us to
no,
fund the
we're-
Yeah,
whole
he said
thing.
just for the 200.
He's asking for us to
Okay.
fund
Yeah,
200.
That's all, I just
yeah.
want to make sure that,
And we haven't decided whether it's 200,
Or
150,
150 or
300.
whatever.
It's estimated, the numbers he gave us comes out to 398,000.
That's,
All right, so
yeah,
let's-
that's right there, yeah,
Let's
that's it.
round it to 400,000.
That's kind of
Okay,
what I
and
was
then-
doing.
So in other words, if it costs 400,000, you're saying that you're going to work to come up with.
And believe me, if we can get it less expensive, if we can get some things pro
Right.
bono, if we get things donated, I'm all about that.
Right.
Okay.
You've only got one quote on here, and we have to quote it out first. Because, I mean, this is just what you're thinking it'll be. It could be more than this.
That involves people putting things on paper more knowledgeable about this than me.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
those are numbers that the experts say are
We have to
realistic.
formally bid it.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, before I'd say, yeah, I would like to see kind of what, because
We'd have to.
Michael, what you're gonna have, what he's gonna have to do, and go sit down, is create a bid document. You're gonna have to get a design professional, bid it, do a bid document, put it out there, and people bid it up based on.
But I think from our standpoint, we need Dr. Manch to talk to him and then bring it to the next agenda, because there's gonna be some debate over the amount that we want to.
Right, well, I'm just thinking, I mean, right now, we assume it could be 400,000, it could be 500 or 600,000. I just want.
Right, but what I'm saying is, we're not sitting here saying absolutely that whatever he comes up with, we're gonna give him 50%. That's a debatable
Right.
issue. We, you know, I mean, from my estimation, we gave Lincoln 150,000. I'm okay with giving 150,000, you know, for this, because that's what we gave Lincoln. That's just where I stand.
And I'm all about, being equitable about, I just wanted to see, if we only got one bid out here, if there was other bids, would it be that price, would it be
Yeah.
more, would it be less?
And it's going to be bid out, but from our standpoint, we're just going to make the decision to give them X amount of dollars, and then it's up to him to bring it down or whatever.
And I think from my perspective, and I understand everything you're saying and understand that we have to have 3 bids. I just needed something that I felt was solid to bring to you all to say, look, here's the ballpark I really think that we're going to be in. So,
I have a question. If they're building this building and all, do the contractors and all that, does that have to be, or is it they pick a contractor they want to use?
No, we'll probably have to bid it out.
We'll
with the
probably
bid
have to-
document,
okay.
and bid it out because of the size and the number.
Okay.
Bid it out, and once you have a solid number, once this board makes a decision what they'd like, then that gives you your parameters. You know, hey, I got, if and we bid it up, and if 400,000, we give you 150, for example, then you know you got to come up with 250,000. And at least this will allow you to have, you'll know how much money you have and how
Right.
much you got to raise, and
Gotcha.
perhaps City of Bridgeport might be interested. I don't know, but what I'll do is come out, Mr. President, members of the board, and we'll sit down and we'll go over it, and when relatively soon we'll bring it to you as to at least what our understanding is, and the board can make whatever decision you'd like to make.
I'm fine with that, I just wanted it clarified, and now I see another perspective where, I mean, it's just not half, it's what we do with
What we
others.
decide.
So you're gonna say the board is gonna come back with a number that we,
No, what's
He's
gonna
gonna,
happen?
he's gonna recommend a number to us.
Yes, okay.
Dr. Manchin will recommend a number to us.
a number.
Yes.
Whether we decide.
And probably
to accept
based
it
on
or
past,
not accept it.
past what the board has done. And of course, obviously, with 5 high schools, we always want to be perceived and seen as being equitable for all the communities, which we have, and certainly that'll be no different here. So we'll probably make a recommendation. It's in that, same ballpark as to what we've done in the past. Again, for equality and equity. So, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. D'Amato and I will sit down and we'll get to work. And once we have something that we can be sure of, and I want to commend you, this is very thorough, excellent. Gives me a pretty good idea. And did Henderson's work this up for you?
you'll see Thrasher is on there.
Well, yeah.
On the quote.
Work-
But
work all this-
City was involved as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to create a bid document, we'll have to hire a design professional, they gotta design it.
Right.
Because obviously, there's some liability. You build a big building like that, we better have an engineer to work it out.
Especially in floodplain.
But with floodplain, so
Yeah.
but Matt and I will talk about that, and Mr. President, I'll bring that to you, okay?
Now, like I say, we're in November, so.
Well,
we're
what,
looking-
we have a little, he's not gonna do
More
anything
people. I mean,
this
he's got-
winter.
he's got some time.
There'll be no work probably, my guess is to
Yeah.
the spring.
But I would.
That's what we
I
were
would wanna
hoping
do
for.
it on the next meeting or something, because he needs to do some fundraising.
Okay, good enough.
And he'll need some numbers as well.
I appreciate your all's time and attention to this concern. Thank you.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
thank you.
All right. That brings us down to Dr. John Phillips and his presentation on Heart Safe Schools with Jody Sperry. Thank you for waiting us out.
Thanks for the cake. It's good, nice
It's good for
dinner.
your heart.
Yeah. So, my name is Dr. John Phillips. I'm a pediatric cardiologist and electrophysiologist. I'm the division chief for WVU Medicine Children's Hospital Pediatric Division, Pediatric Cardiology Division. And Nurse Sperry and I are here to ask the board to consider allowing the Harrison County schools to participate in the statewide project called the West Virginia Heart Safe Schools Project. I've given you all handouts. This project is sponsored by the West Virginia chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, the West Virginia Emergency Medical Services for Children Committee, WVU Peds Cardiology, and then we have 3 parent foundations, the Moray Cool AED Foundation, Matt Valles Save a Life Foundation, and Live Like Caleb Foundation. These are 3 parent foundations started in the name of their children who passed away from sudden cardiac arrest. And all of those foundations' mission is to help to support schools in developing school-based AED programs, particularly from a financial standpoint. So just a couple of things to consider. Sudden cardiac arrest is the abrupt loss of heart function in a person who may or may not have been known to have an underlying cardiac condition. Death usually occurs within minutes of the heart stopping. Surprisingly, some reports show that up to 1 in 50 schools in America will have a cardiac arrest incident each year. That includes adults on school grounds. The average survival rate of an out-of-hospital child cardiac arrest in the U.S. is only about less than 8% survival. So that's just a little bit of background. That is not there to scare you. The reality of it is that your schools are more likely to use this program to save an adult than they are children. But when we do lose a child to sudden cardiac arrest, obviously it is a tragedy, both for the family as well as the community. And unfortunately, in our state just a couple of months ago, that in fact happened in one of our southern counties. The role of the school, of course, is you're responsible for providing a safe platform for learning and sharing. You are required to be prepared for medical emergencies, and you are also required to develop a campus-wide medical emergency response process. So the mission of the West Virginia Heart Safe Schools project is to reduce sudden cardiac death in school-aged children through the recognition of those at greatest at risk, and to maximize the emergent defibrillation for those suffering a sudden cardiac arrest event on school grounds. So what we've done with the project is we've partnered with a national project called Project Adam. Project Adam has a Heart Safe Schools designation. It was one of the first parental foundations started to support school-based AED programs back in '99. It too was named after a young man who passed away during sports participation. And what the designation does, it allows us to designate schools within the state and within your county as heart safe. And the way we do that is to ensure that schools have automated external defibrillators, AEDs, that they're accessible, that they're functional, and they're ready. It asks that each school has a cardiac emergency response team, those who are CPR trained. There's a coordination, participation, and training of faculty and staff within school grounds to be a part of the team. It asks each school to have a cardiac emergency response plan, including preparation to deploy that plan, such as having an annual emergency medical response drill. And then finally, as part of the project, we ask that you allow the schools to report the incidents of any event that occurs on the school grounds, as well as just data collection from each school. That part of it is my ask as a scientist and a physician. I've created a statewide database to be able to track all the schools within West Virginia who are participating in the project. In return, what we do is we offer financial support, we offer educational support, and training support for those schools. So the good news is that thanks to Nurse Sperry and the rest of the folks taking care of the kids in Harrison County, the majority of the points, the requirements for designation in your schools in Harrison County is already done. So for example, every school in Harrison County already has at least one AED. Now some schools may need, particularly the bigger schools, may need more than one. The rule is a 2 to 3 minute brisk walk from a victim to the AED and back. So you can imagine some of your bigger schools, particularly high schools, where there are corners of the campus that kids can be on, and it's not nearly as close to the AD as you may think. So we will help the schools look at their blueprints and their grounds and see if they need to add additional AEDs. But basically what the project does is it just firms up your plan for medical emergencies, offers training, funding, and education to both the students, the faculty, and as well as the community in general.
Do you guys help fund for more AEDs?
Yes, we can. So in what we do ask is for the schools to try to fund them themselves. For example, in 2012, last study I did, 66% of all high schools in West Virginia who had an AED actually did not use school funding to support their programs. Most of them are grants, donations. So we have a lot of fundraising ideas that we could help the schools be involved in. We also get community supporters to be involved. For example, you could get your local hardware store or something to donate an AED or be responsible for that AED. We also offer budgeting plans that allow the school to continually raise money for these products so that as batteries and pads expire, they need to be replaced. As an aside, this may be a question that's about to come up. It usually is asked, how much does it cost, for an AED to be purchased? So in general, what I tell folks is to plan on $2,000 per AED. That is a pretty high estimate, but I think it's better to be prepared than not. And what that allows you to do is purchase a device, have a box that it will sit in, as well as the signage required, the pads, and the battery. And then in general, the battery and pads need replaced every 3 to 5 years, depending on the device. And in general, what we say there is about $200 per device per year. If you put it into a fund, by the time it comes due to replace those things, you'll have the money. So for example, in another county in the state, they have already written into their budget $200 per AED so that you're not stuck with a large cost in 5 years when all the pads start needing to be replaced or batteries die, that you have money put aside. I think of it as my HOA collecting money to pave my road, which I may never see because it'll be done in 20 years, but every year I give to it so that when the cost comes, it's not too much.
Couple issues. We do have them at every school, but I think we need to look at trying to get one into every field, because generally our football fields are,
Every field house has one.
okay, so, okay, that's great.
All my high schools
Okay,
have them.
that's-
And a lot of my middle schools use the high school facilities.
Okay.
I'm not sure about Hypefield. I don't know that they did have one at one point. So the good part is that we have AEDs at all of our buildings. When Community Care came into our schools with our school-based health centers, one of the things that we required that they do is they bought us AEDs. So those elementaries and middle schools that didn't have one, now everybody had one. So that was a wonderful thing that we got from that relationship. They also pay for their own pads. So what we're left with is, for our budgeting purposes, we have high schools that had AEDs that were originally gotten back when Marcel wrote a grant years and years and years ago. And a few of them are actually donated by the Clarksburg Fire Department. So we have probably 7 or 8 high school AEDs that we actually buy stuff for. We, as Board of Ed, usually it comes out of the school funds because it's not written into my nursing budget. I just replaced my Bird ones, it was about $250. And you gave us a high estimate, so that was $250, it'll be good, I think it had a 3-year.
And that's my other question is, who do we have within the school system who is charged with making sure that those
Well,
are?
usually it's the nurse, but with this new, if we do Heart Safe Schools, what my goal is, and Tina Lucas, one of my RNs, and me are gonna kind of take this on as a project, I'd like to get all of our high schools designated this year, minimum. Probably, I will get also to my middle schools, but you would designate an AED coordinator. That might be the nurse, that might not be the nurse, that might be like at Lincoln, we have a parent who is EMS that is super excited. They want to be the AED coordinator. Awesome. you are plugged into the system, we will
Yeah.
let you be the AED coordinator. So
Yeah.
it's really whoever's passionate about it in that.
As long as there's some oversight of someone,
Right.
the buck stops here, that these have been.
Right. And we
Because we've
actually-
used it, we had to use it at Lincoln.
We
And-
did. I
and
was
if
gonna
we'd
say,
had- If we'd
Lincoln-
grabbed and it wasn't ready,
Lincoln used theirs 2 weeks after it came to the building.
So that's what the project does. It creates a process for each school. Each school has its own designation.
Right.
So it has its own team and response team there who is responsible for being prepared to use the device. They're the ones who will say, well, you know, we have kids who go out onto the field at this time of the day. What are we going to do if something happens out there? To answer your question about outside fields and such. So, yeah, and then the oversight is by us, the West Virginia Heart Safe Schools Project, in that the designation for Project Adam comes from us. So the way the National Project Adam has been created is each state, or in our case, it's the whole state because of the size. We are the affiliate for the state of West Virginia, so you have to go through us to get the designation.
and that's good, because I know a few years ago, we had some issues where some of these schools, the ADs were in the safe.
They were locked up in closets, yes.
Yeah.
So now I believe, I believe, and to the best of my knowledge, all of them are in boxes on walls, because I bought a lot of boxes.
Doesn't do you any good in the safe.
And it doesn't do you any good if it's in a drawer, in a closet, or still in the original package and it's stored away somewhere. We've came a long way in the last few years, and we came a long way. So what we already have a Code Blue system, and we actually have a Code Blue protocol and a Code Blue team. So my natural thought process is we'll just integrate this in, adding a lot of verbiage out of his cardiac response into our current Code Blue protocol, adding a lot of educational pieces in for our staff. We were back there brainstorming about, you know, a lot of staff are really afraid of AEDs. They're afraid they're going to shock someone. They're afraid they're going to get sued. So I'm like, we need to make a one-page staff brochure, like debunking AED myths. Like, I can accidentally shock someone. I can do this. I can do that. I don't know how to work it. How do I know when to put it on? So we're working on pieces that make it as user-friendly as possible.
And educational.
And
Right.
education.
Just, I'm going to throw it out there because sometimes people don't know. You cannot play with an AED and shock yourself. So you could give it to any one of your students if you choose and tell them to play with this all day and shock each other for fun. It will not shock each other. It is 99.9% effective in determining the correct rhythm and suggesting an appropriate shock. The liability of having an AED, this comes up a lot, is actually in not having an AED for a board, or you have an AED and it's locked up in someone's office. So it's having one and having folks not know it's there, or it's not in an appropriate place for it to be used, and that's what the project will ensure, that that's not happening in your schools.
Mrs. Sperry, would you check at Highfield and see
Yeah,
if
I
they have
will
one
check.
in Bob?
I used to be the nurse at WI, and I
Right.
know they took one to Highfield because we had two. And I went in to Miss Farrell, and I'm like, why do we have two in the building? Why don't we take one? Because make sure you bring it back at the end of, you know, because I can't remember, is that temperature controlled, that press? I'm thinking
don't
it's
know.
not. So I remember saying at the end of football season, let's bring it back. I will say that we probably need to purchase a few more for our high schools. For example, Bird, I'm the Bird nurse, so I know that building, you know, it's by the gym. And if you're on the second floor back in the back corner, I don't know that, even
You
at
don't think you could
run, I
up
could
that
get,
fast?
I know without I am a Code Blue myself, right? I don't think I could do that. So there will be some timing issues, and I'm probably going to just have nurses go, get your watch out and let's time it. How long does it take from your office? Go get the AED. What we decided to do is write it into our Code Blue that we just take an AED to every code. I'd rather have an AED there and never need it than need it and not have it there. And it also, we've been working on training the staff. We did have a lot of frivolous codes that, oh, somebody ripped their toenail and there's blood on the floor. I'm like, really? And I ran here for this, right? So we're really getting better about training them. You know, it's only if a student is unconscious or they can't safely ambulate to the nurse's office, being more intentional with what is actually an emergency, that you're activating your whole emergency team.
With our staff,
That's the other piece, is training.
It's training, like, because it's great if you're there. but
I know,
what if you're not
training,
there? Or someone else from the team is not there, and like you said, it's happening, but it may be happening in a classroom where it's just that teacher, so how
Well, that's why
much-
you activate the Code Blue team, so they
Right.
come to you.
Right. But then the code blue, it's like when I was an officer, they're calling out the SWAT team. It's great, call
Uh-huh.
SWAT team. They're 20 minutes out.
Right.
I
Well,
need someone now. So
Well, we're
it's great to
usually-
have a code blue team, but what about the training now? So that's where I'm curious. I think all this is great, but I think we can put up signs and posters and one-page things, but until they actually do it.
Right.
I mean, is there?
so pie in the
this-
sky is every staff
Yeah,
member
can we
gets
do
CPR.
something like that? Like every
It's
school,
actually, it's all included in here,
Right.
Part of the
right?
training
If
is
you're going to be
CPR, first aid,
designated,
soft
if you're
food.
designated, it's not like a SWAT team. You are going to have people in the school
Yeah.
who could get there and defibrillate a child within 3 minutes. That's part of all this.
Okay.
It's not one person has to run, do it, and
Right.
you activate it, one person's getting the AD, one person's calling 911. They're all converging on your room. And in some schools, actually, I think we were talking about, maybe in Lincoln, we're putting additional ADs on a different floor, if you had a second floor. So even though it may be within 2 minutes to go downstairs, let's just put one on the upstairs. That will be the upstairs AED, and you may even have a separate team or group of people who come to there. So that's all part of the process.
And there's a
in order
minimum
to be
amount
designated.
a minimum amount of staff that have to be
CPR
CPR
trained.
trained.
Now, the reality of that one actually ends up happening already too. That was a big thing. I thought, people aren't going to want to have all these people trained in CPR. It turns out, particularly in this county, but even in West Virginia, throughout the state, it's kind of required. The coaches are required to be CPR trained. The nurses are required. Some nurses are required to be trainers. So I actually have not run into a school yet that did not have an appropriate number of CPR trained people. And even some of the students are, some of the tech schools that have the nursing programs, those kids are CPR trained. And they could be involved in your project as well. We encourage students to participate as part of the team. Because
So I think for us, the biggest thing will be training as many staff as we can. Taking the AD and just educating staff in of what, I want you to, if you would have to, let's say, everybody went home and you're the last person here and Mrs. Smith across the hall from you falls out of her chair, would you be able to do this? And kind of allaying a lot of their fears. Part of it is partnering with EMS. So there's only so many nurses and there's lots of staff members. So having them to be able to come in and support us, because we can only be so many places at one time, to help do some PL days where we bring them in and do mini CPR. Even if it's a 1 hour CPR, I'd much rather have a 1 hour CPR than no CPR. If we can fit that in, because timing and fitting it into schedules and
some schools are requiring their staff as well, not faculty, their staff to be trained. And I think that came up in your school too, is
Well, I
where
just think
the
like-
the custodian was there on the weekend, and
well, that's true.
what if you have an outside community coming in to use your court?
Sure.
Then that person needs to be CPR trained, to understand where the AED is and how to use it. So
And
some
there's
schools are
also-
requiring that as well.
There's also a form letter that we would give, for example, the high schools, when we start with them, that says, Bird, Little Eagles is borrowing our thing for an event. Here's our AED plan. Here's where our AED is. There are video links for you to click on and to show you like a 90-second CPR mini session. So if you don't know how to do CPR, we have a plan in place and here's our plan. And also having AED plan kind of attached to the outside of the AED machine. And a kind of a CPR 1-page, in case you forgot, CPR for Dummies sheet. Like if you have a moment you can't remember.
The recommendation now is actually, it's hands-only, compression-only CPR. And that's what we'd recommend within your school, so you don't even have to remember the breath to compression, you just do compression. Anybody know what the song is? You're supposed to-
Staying alive.
Staying alive. So you compress the staying alive.
The biggest thing for me is, honestly, that you said that you you can't get shocked. That's a huge thing off my shoulders, because I always thought you could.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I just assumed that if you touched it.
A lot of people
I think
do.
there's a lot of fear,
If
because
I
I
went like
said,
this, I would shock
there's a
you.
lot of myths
I
out
would have
there.
never known that, that's like,
There is.
Yep, you can't,
I would have been afraid to touch it, because it was
right.
So what I guess I would need from the board, besides the consent to go ahead, and we really do have a lot of the boxes checked, we have to tweak some of the things, which we've started working on, would be maybe some additional funding if, for some of the bigger schools, we need a second AD. And that's about it, and involving the community. So I know we have one EMS person that wants to be involved, and hopefully he'll be able to pull in.
Is there a possibility, that one might already be out there that we can use, like a video we can put up on Channel 18 about how to use one, just for the general public and the students?
That's a good question.
Definitely, and you could use all of the Project Adam website. You can even put videos on to educate parents about why you're doing it. Now, when you are designated as a Heart Safe Schools, which is undoubtedly going to happen in this county because of the folks involved, we'll bring it out to the media. You know, you'll get a big banner and you'll publicize it, and your schools are heart safe. It will look great, but it also is just to educate the community about what's going on.
And just think the more stuff we have out there for the public, I mean, just because the drugs run rampant, the more we train these students, the better it is for their home life and stuff. And then here, I mean, these parents are coming into our buildings, and sometimes they don't have the best conditions.
Believe it or not, this is all part of the reason for doing this. Is not just for the schools, it's for the entire American community. And it has been shown, the more people, all of us, students, peers, adults who know how to do CPR are more likely to be bystander rescuers, even in the middle of downtown or in the middle of Walmart. They're more likely to get in there and do something to help a person than be afraid and just sit back and watch somebody die. And it is minutes that you need to be involved. So the purpose of the schools is certainly to protect you while at school, but also just to protect you in general when you're out in the community.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'd love to do a big media blitz where you have stuff on our website about what it is. Got Channel 18, and then we got the schools and posters and like big, like you got to set up small stuff, like big thing right beside it.
Well,
I
Lincoln,
love the volleyball thing. You did a great job. That was great to listen to you. I was like, oh, we need to get one of these banners in Dr. Manchin's hand.
Yes.
And
So
put 'em-
Lincoln, Holly Hawkins already said that she's gonna be the first school. So she's just wants you guys to know.
It becomes a race. It's become a little bit of a race between counties too, to see who's going to be first, because once one school publicizes it, all the other schools are going to say, whoa, why isn't my school heart safe? Why isn't my kid protected? And yours, mine isn't and yours is.
So you're looking for approval from us to implement the program?
Just really what I've done for all the other counties that have been involved, I like to get the board's okay on allowing your schools to participate, so that when we go into your school and we're doing this, you don't have a parent coming up and saying, well, no one told us you'd be doing this. And I can say, well, we presented to the board and you guys agree that this is a good project for your schools within the county.
Okay.
That's what we're looking, we're not looking for money, we're not
Sure.
looking, we just want your
Well,
approval.
I would ask then if you want a formal approval, that Dr. Manchin put it on an agenda, and that he brings it to us, and we give you a formal approval.
So Judge, you probably would, is this simply an approval to start the program?
Yeah, we just need your blessing.
Okay. Just come and see me, we'll get it on the agenda.
Jody,
Yes.
question. Nutter Fort, it's such a large elementary school.
We have two.
Do you have two there?
We have
Okay.
two, and we were actually talking about moving one of them because they're very close in proximity. They're actually right outside both offices, which in proximity is very close to each other. So the Nutter Fort nurse, we were talking about like, well, maybe we need to take the Nutter Fort intermediate one and put it like in the stairwell or someplace more geographically, because you could always, if it happened in the cafeteria or the library or either front office, you could get the primary one and run it over. So it's all about timing. Like, how long does it take from the office to the victim, or to the AD to the victim? And there'll be a lot of stopwatches.
We have like drug awareness, and we have anti-bullying awareness. We need a month of medical awareness where you're doing CPR this week, you're focusing on stop the bleed this week, now we're gonna how to use this machine. Like, it's something where, because you got mass education, you really focus on this month, so every year when they're in school, they got that 1 month of really, but it could be proper eating habits, it could be anything, but I think we need a month dedicated to, like, we're gonna focus on this, you're gonna put posters up all over the school, really focusing on that month.
Okay.
really-
Well, consider-
I love to hear that. I mean, that's what, right, that's why we're out here. Now, luckily, thankfully, our high schools actually already have it. I assume it's happening in Harrison County. It's required for your high school students to have one health class on
Right.
CPR. So that actually, unless you miss school that day, you're actually CPR trained. You're not a card-carrying CPR person,
You're
but
CPR aware,
you're
I think
CPR
is
aware is what they call it. And that includes AED use. So, yeah, the high schools, they get that as part of their health class. But there's no reason why you shouldn't do that in elementary and middle school. It's been shown, it's one of our debunking things. You could give a fifth grader an AED and give him he or she, no other instruction on how to use it, and 85% of them will use it appropriately. It's that easy to use. As long as you turn on the lid, it walks you right through it. Tells you where to put the pads, what to do.
It's really dummy proof. I'll bring one to you guys.
Okay.
And let you see.
Yeah, we'll let you shock Dr. Manchin.
No, it will not shock him.
Is there one in the building? Do you have one in the building here?
Actually, we do not have one in this building.
That's a good question. I don't think there is one in this building, is there?
Not in,
This is
we
where all
have
the
a
old
wheelchair.
schools are.
I just threw my bracelet.
Where all
You
the
know
older
what, we
folks
need to get
are.
one for this building. We have them in our schools.
Kind of tutors you through what to do.
Oh, it
Does
does.
Including CPR. By the way, we have the project is associated with a distributor. We have a statewide meeting about the project in December
Yeah.
that Jody will be coming to. There's 6 different, I don't own any stock in the different devices. There's 6 different devices. He'll be exhibiting all of them to see which works best for folks. And I've bought a lot of AEDs for schools throughout the years. I usually use School Health, but I've actually switched to this distributor because I haven't seen prices as good as this one. So if you decide you want one for this building to protect you all while you're here, let Jody know and she'll hook you up with it. It won't
Yeah, I
be-
never thought about, I'm sorry, guys, I
you
never
like.
even thought about it.
Hook me up.
All right, thank you
All right,
guys very
thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you all. Thank you.
All right, are there any delegations?
I did not receive
No delegations this evening. This brings us down to the superintendent's update.
Mr. President, we have a couple of things to bring to the attention of the board. First, under curriculum and technology, I'd like to recognize Mr. Todd Technology back there. And Toddy will talk to us about the rollout at our elementary schools with our iPads, which have been, I understand, a great success. The kids are excited. I was over at Nutter Fort today and had the opportunity to see what some of the things we were doing over there.
His name's Toddy? Is it Hot
Toddy.
Toddy?
Todd Toddy.
Toddy.
Toddy Technology.
Yeah. Not a lot. We've spent a good portion of time in the setup process so that it would go smooth to the schools. So we spent a lot of time here. We had over 2,000 devices total that we had to set up and we had to put together. Unboxing just is a job in itself. So unboxing and putting all the charging centers together and getting them all separated and everything made the rollout very, very smooth. So we're able to get into a school and not impact the instructional time too much. So get in and out of the classrooms quickly. So we've got 4 more schools to finish up, which we should be done by Thursday. So we've got a lot of positivity out there, a lot of gratitude, and a lot of and thanks. So everywhere we've gone, so they're very, very excited. So we're happy about that project. That's
Good.
it.
Good job, Todd. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Mr. President, under facilities yesterday, obviously you and Mr. Hamrick and Mr. Lopez and I were at the School Building Authority where we made the presentation for our project. I'd like to think that, that it was well received and that we'll have a chance to get into funding. I feel confident, but confidence doesn't feed the bulldog.
When will we find out? When's the president?
December, I
Third?
think they said 16th now. No.
10th.
Well, I'm getting conflicting dates. I don't know.
Okay.
But it'll be in December, first couple weeks in December. So we'll have to wait and see and if we're successful. Sharon, I think you want to recognize some outstanding things we're doing in finance.
I do. Well, it's kind of funny. I guess it's the schools, and I know I've talked to you all about the school cash online. So we've been doing it about a month now, and we've had some contests and some things trying to get people registered. Because the most important thing, obviously, is to get people registered. Now, whether or not they ever purchase anything online, I care, but I don't care. I want to get them registered just for the communication piece of the software. And I think parents are going to find it so convenient that they are going to purchase online, because it doesn't cost you any more to purchase online than it does to send a check into school. So it seems to me most parents would probably opt for paying online. So with that being said, we're a month into it. Every school has something out there that they can purchase. I know they've been using it for the ELF tickets and the plays that they're going to and all that.
Take one and pass it on. Sorry, I thought it was a packet.
Come on, Frank.
I thought you was going to keep it.
But anyway, so we did a little report. We had a contest, and the school that had the most registered got a big 3D printer. And Simpson Elementary School, Wendy Stein and Jill Still both were trying very hard. They had a lot of things going on trying to get people to register. They were able to get up to 50%. But I was equally impressed, if not even more impressed, with Wilsonburg Elementary. That's a school that you would have never thought would have been able to pull up to almost 50% with Simpson. So they were in second. Nutter Fort Primary also did a lot of things trying to entice their parents. They almost hit 50% as well. So you can see on there, we decided Wilsonburg and Nutter Fort did such a great job that we're going to try to get them some kind of 3D printer as well, because they were so close. And there's schools that would be a lot more challenging, I think, probably than Simpson to get all those parents registered. Bridgeport Middle was the top middle school, and Liberty, I know they've been trying real hard to get people registered out there. They were first in the high school. So Todd had suggested that the middle and high schools may like charging lockers, which I've never heard of, but it sounds like it's the bomb. So we will be getting those for the middle school and the high school. So we're going to have another contest, because my goal, which is, I know is a high goal, is to at least get 80% of your parents registered. Parents only have to register one time, and they're registered for the life of their student in school. So if we can just get up to 80% in some of these schools, and then the elementary schools really just need to carry the load, and the parents will already be registered when their kid gets to high school.
Explain this to me again, with the registering, what are they purchasing?
Anything that they send money to school, we're putting it online, and they can buy it online.
Okay.
So it's credit card. It's so much nicer for the school. On the secretary end, everything gets posted automatically. The software integrates fully with their accounting software, so it does the receipt, it posts the amount, it makes the deposit, it does everything for the school. So my interest in it, obviously, is that it reduces fraud, because it's reducing the amount of cash in the schools. But it's also going to be a huge time saver for the secretary in the end. And it's going to be a great communication tool to let parents know what's going on, when there's due dates, when they need to pay something, and things like that. So we're making progress.
And they sign up for it how? I'm just curious, while my wife gets my son's stuff.
Yeah.
But I was just like,
So like at Nutter Fort, they sell popcorn, and it's like, I don't know, a quarter, is it a quarter or something, once a week or something? So we decided to put that on there. So you can pay for a month of popcorn, instead of having to send a quarter every Tuesday or whatever it is. You can pay for a month, you can pay for the whole year. Now, there's no refund, so if your kid doesn't come to school that day, you're just out the quarter. But, so we're doing some things like that, plays, obviously high schools when they have spirit packs, yearbooks, all that kind of stuff.
that's nice.
So every school has something active, I think, right now, and we're going to continue to monitor to make sure that they're continuing to put that up. And actually, the software company is real helpful. They're giving us reports showing us what they're seeing out there.
Do you guys remember paying 50 cents and putting it in a milk jug that used to live in Hat-ins?
There's
It's
12,
silly, but
12 signed up from Lost Creek. Obviously, you weren't one of them.
I was not. My wife could have been. My wife.
I did not see a big concerted effort there, I will tell you.
It could have been my wife.
And if your wife is one of them, God bless her, okay?
She might be. I just think we don't look pretty.
That's curious. Ask her if she knows about it, because that will be interesting to see.
After you call out right here publicly, I think you better.
Let's just send $7 in quarters.
The schools that do extra milk, we made them put it on there. So I said, who wants to come up with that money every day? I mean, it'd be so much more convenient for a parent just to pay for the whole year, be done with it.
Mr. Doherty, that could be your pillow talk for tonight. Ernie, did you sign up?
You let me know, I want to know.
Give us a report at the next meeting.
Yeah.
About the walkthrough.
Oh, wait, I'll get you.
So that's my report. We're gonna keep pushing. We've got another little contest slated for, I think, February. So we'll see who has the most then and who's the most improved. So Lost Creek could be in the most improved category after Michael goes home tonight.
Stand out front.
Okay, thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
I want to go back, if I may, to facilities, Mr. President. I think Kristen has a question of Mr. Lopez that perhaps he may be able to answer as it relates to some of the things we've talked about in the past with Lincoln.
Well, when last week, I didn't make the meeting in time, but I heard on the phone that the owners were open to leasing that property.
That's correct.
Have we, okay, are we doing that? Like, we didn't just say, okay, are we moving on that? In other words, as soon as
Well, I wouldn't
possible
do
for
that unless
safety.
the board approved that.
Um,
Because you all had just kind of asked me to look into it, so.
That's why I wanted to ask.
I was going to meet during the week of Thanksgiving with both owners so that we could take a look at the location that would be feasible to have a walkway through there. And then, then we could move forward. I haven't discussed price, if it's just, so I haven't really got into the details.
We don't have to do any action for him to do that.
No, he can, and in
No,
fact,
discuss
no.
that, right.
It's on
We'll just
there.
bring it to you, and Jimmy, I think the board's desire to expand that and actually take that action. You talked about talking to people.
Okay.
And see if they're interested, get a number if you
And
can.
they have been, they are in theory interested.
All right, and then probably the December 3rd meeting, we'll have it on the agenda.
And both, I think, are good community
Maybe
people.
when it's.
Oh, yeah, they're
Yeah.
good,
So-
they're good.
They're community oriented, so don't.
My other question is also back to the rails. Did we figure out who is responsible for the rails? And not that it really matters to me. What matters is that they're safe, repainted, and have we found out? I mean, I think we should do it basically if nobody else is doing it, but I don't think we should do it if we're gonna get in trouble for it from the state or whatever. So in other words, just check that
I
the
know
condition.
I know that when my first year as principal at Lincoln High School, our county painted them. Now, they do need some work, and I did look at those. It's probably, some of it needs replaced, straightened. They're still safe, they're just a little bit rusty, they don't look very good. But they're still safe. They're bent, I mean, there's a reason why they're there. They're bent,
Has it been hit by cars?
yeah.
Wow, then that's even more reason. I mean, what do we do? Do we contact the DOT or what?
Yeah, I mean, I can look into that, I just didn't know where you all wanted to go with that.
I mean, first and foremost, if we can get the pathway, that kind of makes that a little bit.
That's kind of what I was looking at, and then we're getting into a little colder weather, so we really wouldn't be able to do a whole lot till the weather got a little nicer. If we needed to weld it, if we have welders that could do that, but again, that's going to take a coordinated effort to have it completed.
And I've got some community service people that will paint it if we need.
Okay.
And it should be, I think it should be painted fluorescent reflective color, because at night, people going to the ball games and things like
Yeah,
that.
that's a good point.
And the
think it should
city
be
of
in-
Shinnston, the council also wants to be involved and do what they can, I mean, this is something that everybody
it
wants
safe.
done. And I don't know what we have to do at the board, but I think do it.
Sure.
Is what I'm saying, instead of,
That-
because Gary's talked about this way before you, Jimmy. Gary's brought this up for years.
Yeah.
Actually, Jimmy, when he was the principal, they brought it up to me first. You know,
And we've sat on it, and it's obviously, like you said, a safety issue, and I just don't wanna sit on it anymore. People say, well, you discussed it, but you didn't do anything, because it needs to be done.
Well, we'll put that on December 3rd and get the board update.
Okay.
Let's talk a little more pointed now.
Okay.
Hey, can you circle around back to me just for a second?
Sure.
Todd just sent me this, and he didn't know I was doing this, so it's really timely. One of our mothers posted last night at 9 p.m., "School cash online is amazing. I just paid for 3 field trips and a month's worth of popcorn money for my 2 kids from the comfort of my bed. No more forgetting to stop at the ATM and being the hot mess mom paying at the last minute."
There
Just
you go,
posted
Todd.
last night.
Was that my wife?
No, it was not.
Until Michael gets this straight.
So yeah,
That's great.
that's interesting.
That is
makes me feel
interesting.
good. So
That is
that's
interesting.
the response I want from you.
That's true.
That's it.
Mr. President, that's all I have on the superintendent's update.
All right, thank you. All right, this brings us down to approval of consent items. Is there a motion to approve consent items?
So moved.
Mr. Hamrick has made the motion to approve.
All
Mr.
right.
Hoag has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
But that's all right.
No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. New business, contract between the Arc of Harrison County and the Harrison County Schools. Is there a motion to approve the 2019-2020 contract between the Arc of Harrison County and the Harrison County Schools for a community direct care worker as presented by the superintendent?
So moved.
Mr. Hoag has made the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hamrick has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Out-of-state professional leave requests. Is there a motion to approve the out-of-state professional leave requests as recommended by the superintendent?
So moved.
Mr. Hoag has made the motion to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Doherty has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 2020-2030 Comprehensive Educational Facilities Plan. I will note to the rest of the board that in your packet, there is a item in there that has a couple of changes and verbiage. I don't know what happened to mine.
Here.
I got it. Some edits for final goals and objectives for the 2020-2030 CEFP that will go into the final draft, but are not in the draft that has been updated into your board docs document. So I'll give everyone a few moments to look over those, and I'll call for a motion to approve the goals for the 2020-2030 Comprehensive Educational Facilities Plan.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Hamrick has made the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hoag has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
Hold on. We're on CEFP. On this, will this go in effect for the new Lost Creek? Bill, just when I said that we will add gymnasium, multipurpose rooms to ensure that these are separately from the cafeterias. Like I know
That was in the previous, that part of it was in the previous CEFP, and
It's
that
just to get
was-
rid of the gym cafetorium.
yeah, where they had,
Jimmy kept
you know, like Simpson.
That's what they always were.
Right, I'm just I just know that when we were at the last meeting, there was that talk of the multipurpose
The
room.
discussion
Yeah.
of, yeah.
So I just wanted,
This will impact, Michael, anything that, the only, 2020, obviously, right now, the project we have submitted to the school building authority is under the old CEFP. Anything after this will now be under the new CEFP, the 2020-2030. But again, always understand that it can be amended as funds become available. There's so many things that mitigate all that. But yes, in answer to your question, this does impact the new laws. Oh, no, wait a minute. No. Yeah, but yeah, we already proved that one. But what I guess, and Jimmy's point was well taken, was that was already existing language, wasn't it?
Yeah, some of that.
That was existing language. So that would have already impacted 2010. So that, yes, in answer to your question. And I think that's always our goal when we're doing some construction is to separate that. And I can assure you, Michael, I think you heard our discussion, I wasn't at the last one, but that is our intent. And it needs to be separated. you shouldn't be playing basketball where you're eating. And I agree. And so we're gonna make every effort, and I think they're right now in the design phase where we'll be bringing that to you pretty soon.
All right, no further discussion.
Okay. All right. If there is no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Old business, funding request from Northview Elementary. Is there a motion to approve funding request of $4,000 to Northview Elementary as presented by the superintendent?
And I might add, Mr. President, that they gave us $4,800, was that right, Sharon?
Yeah, I think $4,800 worth of donated stuff.
Which was
that
the
receipts.
board's
Request.
request.
I make a motion to approve.
Mr. Doherty has made the motion to approve the funding request of $4,000 to Northview Elementary. Ms. Messenger has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
Is that what they asked for when they was here at the last
Yeah,
meeting?
that's total.
I did, okay, I
It's not in addition to, because we never.
okay, I must not have heard it correctly.
Because I
Okay,
was thinking we gave him something and this was on top, but it's
Okay.
not.
Yeah, we gave him some money before that too, so.
okay. Tell them the well's dry. Okay.
The well was still moving.
If there is no further discussion,
Which I hope.
which I hope, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, there are no policy updates. Personnel. Is there a motion to approve the personnel matters as presented by the superintendent?
So moved.
Mr. Hoag's made the motion to approve the personnel agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hamrick has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
Other than that's the first one that Michael didn't have to recuse himself.
I was looking.
Man, there gotta be somebody out there.
Could have been.
All right, if there is no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Personnel agenda has been approved.
Mr. President, if I may, just intervene very quickly before we adjourn, is
No.
that
No. Go ahead.
we would act that way.
Sorry, go ahead.
Attorney thinks you stunk it.
Uh,
His feelings too.
I do have, and this is kind of what, in response to what you had mentioned, we have on the opioid litigation proposal, we have spoken to attorneys. I intend, if there's no objection, is to have a attorney here to give you obviously, we haven't selected anybody, but an attorney on the December 3rd will give you some insight as to what this individual's, I've invited them to give you an insight, give you just an overview, and then obviously the board will make the decision. There are 3 firms, so I will have somebody here on December 3rd. Okay?
Could we also get an update, legal update on the lawsuit that was filed?
With the ACLU?
Yeah.
I don't, Dora, is there anything new on the ACLU?
No, there's some things going on between the attorneys and Judge McCarthy and whether he can oversee.
We're trying to get it dismissed, but
Yeah, there was.
we haven't heard anything, so we sit tight while the
Okay.
attorneys
Squabbling over.
charges arm and leg.
The judge and-
All right.
and
So the opioid legislation, the one thing that I would like to mention on that is there are, if you could do some research to determine whether or not it's a viable option or not. I know we spoke a little bit about it yesterday, but some of the municipalities that I've noticed are going away from the class action lawsuits and are going into litigation by themselves or wanting to.
That's what our county's doing.
Yeah, so is that something?
Well, why don't we ask this, and these guys are
Yeah, and
top-notch attorney, and then.
Yeah, and my only thing, I still do have an issue with the way it was presented by the School Board Association, where they came up with arbitrarily having 3 firms. There are several firms out there. There's a firm that our county commission's already employed that already is doing this work for our county. I think we need to involve more than just the 3.
And maybe do a request for proposal?
Yeah, something like that, because there
RFP.
are, and I'm not saying that any of those 3 are bad, I'm just a little skeptical when our school board association says, here's 3, you don't have to use those, but here's 3. They shouldn't have done that.
That's the,
Yeah.
and I'll have that for everybody.
Yeah, they sent it to us.
Oh, okay.
But I'm a little skeptical when they're saying these are the 3, when there's several out there, and I don't want to be tied into that, especially when in this county, we've already got, the county commission already has someone employed, and that may be someone who's already done the work that we need done.
Right, but I'd like a clear recommendation
Yeah.
from Dr. Manchin as to whether we should
Right.
do a civil, class action and go into that stance, or whether we should do it individually.
Well, and I think what you do is you hire a competent counsel and they let you know, and if you have a good enough case, they're gonna move away from the class action. They're gonna do it individually, and that's what our county is doing. They're not part of the class action. That's my only thing.
They have- and-
They're three fine firms, but that doesn't mean that there isn't someone that's already done the work out there.
Well, at least hopefully some of your questions will be answered on December 3rd.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Manchin.
Thank you.
So
Mr.
if there is no further discussion or topics to be brought up, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Everybody is motioning to adjourn, and everybody has seconded. Is there any discussion? I call for it. No discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.